I'd say nuts. Aye. Here.
Gretchen,
Here.
Moore,
Here.
Redding,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Sure.
Make a motion, we go into closed session, city council discuss strategy with council about matters where litigation is imminent because the public disclosure would be likely to prejudice or disadvantage the position of the city in that litigation.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, never mind.
Gretchen,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
It was a good diversion. Aye.
Yeah.
Scott,
Aye.
Capron,
Yep. Aye.
Motion, we go into closed session, the city council discuss strategy with council about matters that are presently in litigation because public disclosure would be likely to prejudice or disadvantage position of the city in that litigation.
Second.
Moore,
Maybe. Aye.
Redding,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Aye.
Gretchen,
Aye.
You're out outside.
What would happen if I said no?
The bar's still open.
Yeah. You go from bar to bar, they have mini golf. It's a fundraiser for historic.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Then you drink a few beers and apparently it gives me.
Yeah.
To show you, lay everything out for you. I second. Thank you. Got 3 seconds.
Redding.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Capron.
Aye.
Gretkin.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye.
I move we adjourn the closed session.
Second.
Scott.
Aye.
Capron.
Aye.
Gretkin.
Aye.
Moore.
Aye. Aye, yeah.
We back in about 5.
Back to me. Capron.
Here.
Gretkin.
Here.
Moore.
Here.
Redding.
Here.
Scott.
Here, please stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Bob, you want to come up for the historic preservation? Sure do. How are you today? Good. We have one that reads, whereas on behalf of the City Council, I'm pleased to join the Historic Preservation Committee in promoting May 7th through the 14th, 2016 as Historic Preservation Week in Sioux City, Iowa. Whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for managing growth, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for all Americans of all ages, of all walks of life, and of all ethnic backgrounds. And whereas it's important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of heritage that has shaped us as people in the community. Now, therefore, I, Robert E. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim May 7th through the 14th, 2016 as Historic Preservation Week in Sioux City, Iowa, and urge all our citizens to learn more about Sioux City and its rich historic past. And this week, say a few words.
I will. Thank you, Mayor. Bob Kocher, I'm Chair of the Historic Preservation Commission Week. We've been doing this, the Historic Preservation Commission, this is the 13th time, and people become more aware of what's going on as far as preservation. The week has been to build awareness, and I think we have achieved a lot of that. If you look at over the last 15 years ago, historic 4th Street, now historic Pearl Street, the Rose Hill, Morningside College, there's being a lot done. So we want to share that excitement with the city by offering things for education and awareness. We kicked off our week actually on Saturday with the March to Open, and that was very successful. And the Sioux City Fire Department toured. They have a historic museum now. And our next event is really on Wednesday, and this is kind of an educational presentation of the 50th anniversary of the National Preservation Act and the 100th anniversary of National Park Service. Public Museum is going to be putting this on Wednesday at noon, so please come and you'll enjoy and learn a lot. And then we have an award presentation that's going to be happening at the Firehouse, 408 Water Street, Treasurer of Sioux City Award. And everyone is certainly welcome to that event. And then it'll be at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then we wrap up the week with the National Train Days at the Railroad Museum out in Riverside on River Road. And so that'll be a good event for families and any of us. So we have the locomotives outside and walking tours and rides. So it'll be a great event. Although the Historic Preservation Commission is the key sponsor of this, we certainly don't do this alone. I just want to mention the Public Museum, the Downtown Partners, the Rivercade, City of Sioux City, Railroad Museum, the Weekenders, and so the Rivercade and JD Gordon all sit on a planning committee to make this happen. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions about historic preservation, go to site siouxcityhp.org and you can learn all about it, what's happening, how you might want to be involved. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Bob.
your work. We'll move to the consent agenda, which is items 2 through 14H. You can consider that they pass unanimously unless a council member asks for a vote. If you want to speak on any of these, please come forward as I read them. State your name and address so it can be entered in the record. If you want to speak on an item not on the agenda, please wait and come up under citizens concern. Again, give the clerk your name, address, and phone number for follow-up. I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
2 is a reading of the City Council minutes of May 2nd, 2016. 3 is a resolution closing Pierce Street and adjacent alleys May 13th through the 15th, 2016 to accommodate the Sioux City Symphony's Collide Outdoor Reception. 4 is a resolution inviting proposals for the sale of land in Donner Park Urban Renewal, announcing the intent to accept the proposal of Countryside Health Real Estate LLC and setting a hearing. 5 is a motion appointing Tiffany Parsons to the Parks and Skywalk System Board. 6 is a resolution authorizing final payment to Nelson and Rock Contracting for the Perry Creek Storm Sewer Replacement Project. 7 are resolutions adopting plans and specifications, form a contract, estimated cost for the reconstruction of taxiway A North Connector project at the Sioux Gateway Airport. 8 are actions relating to grants. A is a resolution accepting the agreement award of an economic development grant from MERD for the Sioux City Trail Systems, which I think we're having like a formal deal on Friday, correct?
Friday too.
Yep, okay.
On that item, Matt, could you, this is a huge deal, Mayor, as you know. and-
Huge deal, that's right.
Yeah. Could you just show me what trail, part of the trail system we're looking at, Matt, as far as this grant? And then the other item, where was that other item that we have for the trails?
That's the next council
What's the
agenda.
next one? B?
The TAP agreement.
Under B, yes.
Yep. Matt Salvatore, Parks and Recreation Director. Here's an aerial view of the I-29 Riverfront Trail. I would start here where the existing trail ends at the end of the riverfront, and we'll go under the interstate. We'd have to do a bridge here over the Floyd Channel. We actually have that bridge, so it'll just have to get engineered. And then it travels along all the city-owned property, bridge over the Bacon Channel, back under I-29, and then we hook up right here where the existing Chautauqua Trail ends. So we're looking at about 1.5 miles worth of trail.
Of adding 2 bridges.
2 bridges, which we have both bridges in storage right now, so it's just a matter of getting them engineered and put back together.
And when does this start?
Well, we've started the consultant selection process, so as soon as we get somebody under contract and start getting it designed, both this grant and the TAP, they're letting us, the MPO's letting us borrow ahead, so we have another $1.3 million towards this riverfront project. We're looking at about 2.9 total. So we'll budget for the difference in FY18 and get going as soon as we can. Game changer for our trail system. This is the most crucial link that we have in our entire trail system.
Okay, thank you.
How did we end up with 2 bridges?
They were left over from, I think,
Was one from
the Perry
the
Creek.
dunes? or
Kelly can
something?
answer that one.
Didn't we have one for the dunes that they didn't use?
Originally, the bridge sections were bought for the crossing of the Floyd River, but you remember, we were about ready to award at that time contract. There was some problems with the contract, bid items, and then the DOT decided that widening I-29 to 3 lanes put everything we had in motion on stop. So there are 10 bridge pieces in storage, both at the airport and in field services. There's I-beam, the connections, things like that. So
Where'd you get them at, though? You got them from somebody out of town years and years
it was
ago.
in Colorado. Big R is the company that built them out of Colorado. They're a 5-ton bridge, similar to everything else we have.
I'm assuming we bought them, right? I mean,
Correct.
Yes.
We had a contract and it got canceled due to a design error, but the bridge had already been purchased, so the city ended up with the bridge.
okay. But 2, we have 2 or 1?
Right.
Two
Yeah, that's what I thought.
sections, enough for 2 sections of bridge on this project.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And then the other section of trail that we're looking at doing through the MERD grant is the Sertoma Trail Loop. This is an aerial of Combe Park, so from here on the Singing Hills, it'll go all the way around Sertoma Park. It's actually going to keep going and loop back around this way. So that project is also made possible by this MERD grant. So we're very, very appreciative. Press conference Friday at 2 o'clock.
Awesome.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Does that include the money from the Simcoe?
The
in
MPO money?
this? Yeah,
That's for I-29 only, yep,
Okay,
yep. And that's roughly $1.3 million.
because that's also pretty significant too, because that's never been bonded against before.
Yeah, well, they're letting us borrow ahead through FY22 to get this project escalated.
B is a resolution authorizing the execution of a federal aid agreement for a transportation alternatives program project with the IDOT in connection with the Riverfront Trail Connection Project. C is a resolution approving fiscal year 2016 annual action plan for the Sioux City Consortium in conjunction with the Community Development Block Grant Program, the Home Investment Partnership Program, and the Emergency Solutions Grant Program. D is a resolution accepting a grant agreement between the City Housing Trust Fund, Inc. and Wells Fargo, N.A. in connection with the Homeownership Counseling Grant Program. 9 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving the contract with Lazard Contracting for the Morningside area reconstruction project. I need to abstain on that, please. B is a resolution approving Amendment 1 with the Short Elliott Hendrickson for additional design services for the Sertoma Park Trail Loop in connection with the Cone Park Development Project. C is a resolution approving the contract with DNS Landscaping for the Riverside Soccer Fields Reconstruction Repair Project. D is a resolution awarding a contract to Mark Albanesius Inc. for the North Lewis Boulevard Water Main Phase 2 project. E is a resolution approving the contract with Subservco for the Jackson Street Reconstruction Project. I need to abstain on that. F is a resolution approving a contract with Nelson Construction and Development for the Box Hangar Development Project at the Sioux Gateway Airport. G is a resolution awarding a service provider agreement to Push Pedal Pull for the purchase of 7 Precor 813 adaptive.
So is there any kind of service agreement that comes with that?
Spirital Who is purchasing, yes, there is a service agreement that comes with that.
What is it?
It's installation, and then I believe it's a 3-year warranty.
Yeah, I checked out their manufacturer website. They basically have a 1-year warranty on wear parts and those kind of things. So is there something
I believe
the company is doing for, Pedal Pole is doing for you? Because basically it's $5,000 for an elliptical.
Jerry Bennett, I'm the training officer with the fire department, and they did agree to a 3-year parts and labor warranty contract on that. They extended the Precor warranty, so Push Pedal Pull is extending the warranty for
Did we
us.
pay for that warranty or they did that?
No.
Okay. Thanks.
Don't worry about it. It's okay. H is a resolution approving a cost-sharing agreement with Woodbury County, City of Sergeant Bluff, City of Salix, and the Siouxland Initiative for construction, planning of the 235th Street interchange on I-29 between mile markers 138 and 140 in connection with the interchange justification report. Just so most of you know, we've already approved that, but the county wanted further clarification, is why it's back on here. 10 are purchasing. A is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Murphy Tractor for one used 2014 John Deere wheel excavator for the CMG. B is a resolution approving a purchase order to McNeilius Truck and Manufacturing for 3 Mack 2749 trucks for the CMG. C is a resolution approving a 6th memo with Gil Hall in connection with the collection and disposal of solid waste. 11 are total checks. Approve the checks. Total checks issued for the reporting period April 2016 in the amount of $8,592,290.19. 12 are applications for cigarette, tobacco, nicotine, vapor permits. See the list. Come forward if you have any questions. 13 are applications for beer liquor license. See the list. Come forward if you have any questions. 14, receipt of minutes. See the list. Come forward if you have any questions. Anyone to be heard on any of those items?
I did want to ask on the different trucks and things we're buying. I noticed just even the trucks that take the mowers around town are pretty substantial trucks for hauling around mowers. Is there just in general a fleet priority when it comes to what kind of trucks we're using for different jobs? Or all on you now.
Jim Miller, Fleet Supervisor. The reason the trucks are that size for taking the mowers around and stuff during the summer is they also are in our snow and ice fleet. So we need those in order to do the plowing and stuff. So going to a smaller truck, they wouldn't have enough plow trucks during the winter.
How many do we have like mowing crews? Is there 5? Is there 10? I have no clue.
Okay, beautiful.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
There are 3 crews that carry 4 employees. They carry 2 mowers and the weed eaters necessary to do their job. Like Jim said, they double duty as snow plows during the winter. So downgrading to a crew cab like you see at Water, Treat, and T&D wouldn't be an option because you couldn't plow snow with those vehicles. They're too light to do that work. They're also used for hauling dirt, other construction projects when we are. So yeah, they are a little bigger than needed, but their other duties
For
necessitate
that
that
vehicle,
size.
so it's not cheaper to have a few, because those trucks have to be expensive when they're that size.
They're comparable. You'd be looking at 2 vehicles versus 1 then.
Sure.
So, you know, a 550 crew cab, you're looking at almost $60,000 for a truck right at that point. And then you'd have to add an additional to plow snow, so you'd have 6 vehicles to maintain and pay for rather than 3.
Sure. I was just worried about the liability factor too of driving around such large trucks to all the parks, and so, you know, some of the streets you have to get to are pretty narrow in Morningside.
It's governed by the size of vehicles. They're no bigger than, you know, you can get a pickup through, so.
All right, I was just asking.
Yeah, generally we don't go into very small areas.
Thanks.
Go on to hearings. 15 is a hearing and resolution instituting proceeding. Oh, we got to vote on the big amendment. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Maybe should have parked in the ramp, huh?
I'm washing my car. What are you talking about?
I'm just saying for the hail.
Oh,
Passes
well.
5-0. 15 is a hearing and resolution instituting proceedings for the loan and disbursement agreement of $104,000 sewer revenue capital notes. I'll move that.
Second.
You want to look? Okay, passes 5-0. 16 is a hearing and resolution instituting proceedings for a loan and disbursement agreement of $313,000 for sewer revenue capital loan notes. I'll move it.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 17 is a hearing and resolution instituting proceedings for the issuance of $27 million general obligations bonds, ECP-1. I'll move it.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 18 is a hearing and resolution instituting proceedings for the issuance of $1 million general obligation bonds, CGP-2. I'll move it.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 19 is a hearing and resolution instituting proceedings for the issuance of $1 million worth of general obligation bonds, GCP-3. I'll move it.
Second.
Don't give up.
Okay.
Passes 5-0. 20 is a hearing and resolution instituting proceedings for the issuance of $1 million general obligations bonds, GCP-4. I'll move it.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 21 is a hearing and resolution instituting proceedings for the issuance of $1 million general obligation bonds, GCP-5.
Second it.
Did you move it?
No.
Okay, I'll move it.
Let's wait till you move it then. Hey, Dan, we're tied now, 1-1.
We are.
Thank you.
That was pretty good.
You can vote now.
Sounds like water dripping.
Yeah. I still want to bring a squirt gun when it rains like that and just start shooting.
Passes 5-0. 22 is a hearing and resolution instituting the issuance of $650,000 general obligation bonds, GCP-6.
Move it.
Second.
Not working, mine isn't.
I'll call the roll. Gretkin,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Redding,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Capron,
Aye.
23 is a hearing and resolution instituting proceedings for the issuance of $8,650,000 worth of general obligations urban renewal bonds, UR-ECP-7.
Move it.
Second.
Is item 22 a 5-0? Vote?
Yes.
I didn't confirm it because what she called it, but yes. Mhm. That passes 5-0. 24 is a resolution directing the advertisement for the sale of $23,290,000 worth of general obligation bonds, Series 2016A.
Move
Move
it.
it.
I'll second. No, I said I'd move it. Too darn quick.
Passes 5-0. 25 is a resolution directing the advertisement for the sale of $8,545,000 worth of taxable general obligation bonds, Series 2016B.
I'll move it.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 26, a resolution directing the advertisement for the sale of $4,395,000 worth of general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2016C.
I'll move it.
Second.
So Donna, in the 27 million that said refunding Series 2006A, 2007A, are we just paying bonds with other bonds? Is that?
Donna Forker, Finance Director. In Series A, there is, and B, there are current refundings that are included in there, plus the CIP. The advanced refunding, we actually have to set up a trust, and it goes into the bank, and when next year comes around, we'll call those as current refunding. So you'll see these come back, you'll see come back next year.
Okay.
'27 is a hearing and resolution approving construction documents for the 225th Street and Port Neal Road project.
I'll move it.
Second. Passes 5-0. 28 is a hearing resolution amending the budget for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2016.
Move it.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 29 is a hearing and resolution approving construction documents for the Dearborn Boulevard Bridge over Perry Creek.
I'll move it.
Second.
Passes 4-0. I vote no. 30 is a hearing and resolution approving construction documents for the 38th Street Bridge over Perry Creek.
I'll move it.
Second.
Sound like video game noises over there.
Passes 4-1. I vote no. The reason I'm just saying the reason I vote no on both those is we're building these bridges to the Perry Creek standard. We don't even know what that is upstream. And so I really think this is a case where we're being somewhat too proactive. I've said that every time on these projects, so it's not that it makes any difference, but I wanted to clarify it for the public. 31, ordinance amending chapter 12.12 of the municipal code entitled Waterworks to increase the water rates effective July 1st, 2016.
Mayor and council, we do have a brief presentation if you care to see it.
Sure. Absolutely.
I'll move it. Needs a second. Or are you gonna wait?
Present without it.
Okay. Wait.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
We do not have a second.
I'll second it.
Go ahead.
Okay, this presentation, we will go over briefly the I-29 debt, the capital projects, where we are with fund balance, what we are looking at rates, and we also included some comparison of where we are statewide. First with water, the I-29, as we have talked about during the 3 budget hearings where we've brought up water rates, we have $5.7 million worth of I-29 costs that we need to fund. That translates over the 20 years that we'll issue the SRFs for to over $7 million worth of principal and interest costs. The SRF debt that we'll be issuing carries a 1.75% interest rate, a 1% origination fee, and a 0.25 admin fee every year. These are the capital projects that we have included into the analysis. Staff met when we got a new estimate on the Seaboard Triumph food revenue flows, and we went back through the capital projects that we approved during the budget and made some modification, moved some projects around in order to minimize the impact to rates. The fund balance that you see on top is if we did absolutely nothing today and did not do rates, where we would be. You can see we immediately go very negative very quickly. we have a fund balance policy in place that says in enterprise funds that we will have, look at rates in a 5-year look period, and at the end of the 5th year, we will be in a range of fund expenditures to fund balance of 15 to 20%. We, knowing how much we are burdening that the ratepayers, felt that staying at the very low end of the fund policy would be in our best interest at this time. We have proposed 7% across the board. We are only going for a 3-year rate increase, and that would be effective July 1st, 16, 17, and 18. The additional revenue being generated by the flows of the Seaboard Triumph is $1.2 million. This is only based on one shift. We have projections that late 18, 19, they may be going to a second shift. That would increase the revenues then.
The impact to refer to the typical household as, or the typical resident using 8 CCS, which is 800 cubic feet, also converts to 5,984 gallons per month. The current rate, including tax, the current monthly rate for that level of use is $33.65. The first year increase of 7% would increase that rate by $2.38 up to $36.03. We've also added the impact for a large family, which uses a little bit more water, a senior citizen, which uses a little bit less, and then a typical restaurant, which on average we found uses about 26 CCFs of water per month.
Switching over to sewer. The 32.2 million is what we are projecting right now for I-29. This number still can go up higher till we're completely done. It will translate into state revolving loan payments of $39.5 million over the 20 years. These are the projects that we have for capital. We here again did go through and tried to go through the projects, look at them with an impact in mind as we're doing them. We did pull off a Bridgeport sanitary sewer project and move that to be funded with tax increment financing instead of using sewer funds. This is the projections of our fund balances as we are looking at them today. We have projecting 3.5% increases going over the 5 years. I know when we talked during budget, we did not have a rate increase projected for the first year, but when you take and don't put one in the first year, it dramatically increases the second, the third, the fourth, up to in the 6% ranges. We were trying to keep small, flat across the board ranges instead. The rate for Seaboard Triumph is 1.1 million worth of revenue being projected. This again will go up additionally when we get into that second shift area. And something that we did not talk about during budget, but we are investigating right now, is the sale of biogas. We are going to be sending out a request for proposals here at the end of this week, and we are hoping it will generate at a minimum of $1 million. We did project that into our fund analysis in the third year going out.
We also did some analysis on what the sewer rate increase of 3.5% over the 3 years would have on the same 4 categories of users. You can see it varies from 93 cents per month for a senior citizen using 6 CCFs of water per month, up to $3.71 per month for a typical restaurant.
This is an analysis of where we are with our rates compared to some of the cities. I did send out a statewide comparison that we received from the city of Ames. We did not project anybody else's rate increases into this chart besides our own. Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, Dubuque, and a couple other cities are also having rate increases starting July 1st.
But they're not factored into this
No,
graph.
we just put our own in.
I don't want to look at the small projects, but we've awarded, I think, all of the North Lewis Boulevard project as of today,
Yes, we have.
but yet you're not projecting that to be paid until 2018?
I'm taking it and trying to spread the debt over the life of the project when the payments were going to be coming due to try to minimize the rate impact. Because I didn't want to upfront it and then sit with proceeds that we're just holding and not drawing down because you pay the admin fee right away.
Right, but you're going to have to pay that here in the next fiscal year, and you've got the bonds in the fiscal year after that.
But I'm going
No, you just awarded that project today. That's the third phase of that
we
project.
did reward it. I just don't anticipate having to borrow the debt.
Is that only the second phase?
Yeah.
Okay, you're right, but you have 1.3 million and 1 million, and this phase just came in at 800,000, which means that because the first phase wasn't $1 million, it was 1,015,000 or something,
It was like 1.5.
huh?
I thought it was 1.5.
No, it wasn't 1.5, I can tell you that. I know it wasn't.
Hold on.
Our Ryan Callahan, RC got it. And it was like 1,015,000.
What's that? Yeah.
Hold on a second.
And this phase is just 800 and some. And it's not the end of the,
1.3 is 17, 1.5 is 18, and he can give us 16 here. I was gonna look and see what I've got for SRL.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The point is that some of these projects have rarely, but this one in particular has come in under budget. But yet we're still floating bonds at the higher amount.
The phase 3 amount was budgeted at 951,000, is that what you're showing?
All the phase 3 in Keith's book I just borrowed is 1,350,000 in construction. On page 212.
I think we did the design work already too, so.
Yeah, we did the design.
No, I don't think you've designed phase 3 yet.
I thought we designed it all at one.
I don't,
We did part of the, we budgeted 1.1 for 16, but we're not borrowing all of it.
oh, it doesn't matter. I'll talk to you later about it. But it's not, my point is I think we did pay for the design, which is already paid for. The next phase came in 400,000 or 500,000 cheaper than we thought it was going to. So we just bid it, just awarded today.
Right.
Okay, so these pay rates are gonna be going up
How much was it?
July 1st, right?
If we go through the 3 hearings and the timing is correct, it would be,
Yeah.
we're aiming for July 1st.
Okay, so I figured between the water and sewer, every month, on average, it's gonna be, the first year will be $3.58, second year will be $3.74, and the third year will be $3.98.
Correct.
So after that 3 years, and we're done, right?
No, we
And
would then,
we're still gonna keep raising after
Probably
that?
in perpetuity at that.
basically what we would do is we'd have 3 years, but during every year during the budget, we would do our analysis to see where we are and we would stay pat for the 3 years unless there's some unfortunate situation that happens. But then when we would get to 19's budget, we would then look at another 3-year rate increase. And hopefully by then, things will settle out, the biogases will come in, and we won't, like in sewer, hopefully wouldn't have to raise rates, but that's too far out in the future to even project. But we will try, you know, we keep, every year, we look at where we end up within that 5-year. What we're trying to avoid is back around 2000, early 2000s, in sewer, we were doing double-digit rate increases, and we're trying to not do that anymore. We're trying to keep them into single digits, flat, and consistent.
Well, I know that our I-29 project went way up, right?
Right. I pulled out today, just for comparison, the water amount in 2006 for I-29 was at $7 million. The I-29 for sanitary sewer in 2006 was 13.4. We're at 32.2 now.
Mm-hmm. I want all our people out there to hear this so they try to understand it, because none of us want to do rate increases, but we don't have a choice, to me, the way it looks to me.
The I-29 debt in the sanitary sewer was just too much for the fund to absorb.
Oh.
Our wastewater treatment plant is over $90 million for what we rehabbed so far. I-29 is a third of that.
Mm-hmm. And when we started out with the I-29 project, we were projecting this.
No, not at all.
So things went crazy. I mean, we're paying, what, 14 million more? Is that about right?
We over doubled.
Yeah, so.
We are meeting with the major industrial users. Mark Sims met last week with them. He's got another meeting this week with them. The Effective Fiscal Public Policy is meeting this Wednesday night, and we will go over rates with both of those groups, or water and sewer with that group, and get their feedback and bring it back to you also.
Where are the sister cities?
The sister cities on water are not as upset about it, but on the sanitary sewer, they go back to when we initially announced the Seaboard Triumph Agreement, thinking that flows were going to be much better than what they were. And so we were putting out better revenue estimates. And so, you know, we were looking at minimal rate increases. But as of not last month, but the month before, Mark Campbell was contacted and he gave us updated analysis, and the flows just aren't there. I would rather that we were realistic up front than build in a couple extra $1 million into our analysis and have them not materialize, and then we're into that double-digit rate increases in the future years.
Difficulty I'm having is that a year ago this time we did announce that, and it was based on the best projections we had, but it just doesn't seem like we're giving the people enough time for the impact of the increases. Plus, and I appreciate, Donna, all you've done on these numbers, but 7% and 3.5% just seem to be extraordinarily high. I know they're not doubled, but they're still high. And it seems like we're just getting pounded from time to time with rate increases and various other increases. It just doesn't seem like it's, maybe I should have seen this coming, but I didn't. And 7% per year for 3 years just seems high.
Here's where I'm at. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Water needs it desperately. Their fund balance just is not there. Sanitary sewer, if we didn't do something this year, the rates going out would be larger, but we could get by with not having an increase this year. They would, somewhere along the line, we're going to make that up. Water, we need a rate. We need the rate increases. If you look at where we are cash-wise, we just don't have it. We've been just skipping by where we should be.
With the water water rates. But I mean, just correct me if I'm wrong on this, Donna, but I mean, so it sounds like we're going to have increases for years to come. And if in 3 years or 4 years, Seaboard Triumph, their water flow is is much more than what they anticipated, there won't be any relief for the ratepayers then.
Well, the cost of maintaining your water and sewer system never goes down. Your capital expenditures are always higher. You know, it's a lot more expensive to dig up a broken pipe out of the ground and replace it.
If you look at our annual infrastructure, just doing the same mile of water pipe and sewer pipe has gone up tremendously, and that's just to do a mile. And we're not funding very much of that in our annual infrastructure.
Let
The
me
breaks
ask
we're
you another
having-
question. You just rolled like $5 million worth of unused bonds in the street projects. It was like $7 million there, and now it's 12 million.
Correct.
Okay, so obviously we haven't, what would appear to me, a surplus of what we're going to use this year, because we haven't done $7 million worth of projects ever.
No,
In
what,
that-
what they've done,
The 5 million was the FY17 to encumber all those contracts.
Is what?
We rolled forward, we pulled forward the FY17 budget, the 5 million, and added it to their 16 budget so that they would have enough to encumber a few large contracts that they were working on to get them encumbered early, essentially.
with what you have approved last week and this week, and what you will be seeing here, and believe it's next week, the infrastructure contracts going out already total $9 million. Without bringing last year's back, they wouldn't have had enough appropriation.
Okay, but,
And those are only taking,
you know, if we're looking at these kind of rate increases, and I think you did mention in the budget hearing, but I don't think it was 7% a year for 3 years. Did I miss that?
originally, we were at 7, 7, 7, 6.5, 6 1/4. And then we
Sewer
went.
was at 3, wasn't it?
Sewer was at 0, 7, 7, 7 1/4.
I just thought I remembered sewer being 3% rather than the 7.
Then we did a mid-year one that if we did some changing around, we could get down to 3.
Now, is that including any potential for a change to ultraviolet disinfection?
That does not, because I don't have enough information to put a projection in there.
Was there a capital, well, McClure's gone now, right? He was here.
As of last week, they were still doing the study.
But do they have any kind of preliminary numbers, Mark, on? What are we looking at for? Because it's basically a capital cost up front and then lower operating costs, correct?
They are, the projections are about 3.5 million to go to UV.
Well, the cost to fry it with UV versus buying chemicals is quite a bit lower.
The UV we would issue as an SRL so that the debt service would match up as the operating costs went down.
The balances seemed a lot higher in the sewer. Could you not do the 3%?
The 3.5% is what I'm looking at right now. But if you don't do something the first year because of the compounding,
Sure,
you're going to go
I
up
know how
higher.
And I've looked online just to compare other cities the same age as Sioux City, and a lot of cities are doing 18% and 20%, 12%. 7's about the lowest I've seen for other cities and their rate increases of cities this similar age. So I don't know what to tell, what to say on it, but
Utilities are very expensive to run and to maintain the infrastructure of the city our age. I mean, last week we had a break that, not only are we going to have to repair the break, but now we have some liability issues that we'll be resolving, which will cost on their general liability premium in future years to go up. So it's just a very expensive endeavor to do.
Makes me wonder if we're aggressive enough on our infrastructure improvements.
That's a hard one to say because being aggressive would be great, but with the debt capacity where it is, you either going to dedicate it all to infrastructure and have no quality of life items. So it's us finding that balance where the rates are at an affordable level, where we're trying to maintain the infrastructure we've got and have things that make us a community where people want to come live.
And there's a lot of things that are, complying with current law as well, especially on the wastewater side,
And I
as
think,
far as costs go.
The
I mean,
$90 million
your major costs are on that.
yeah, the $90 million that we're currently carrying in the sewer fund, a lot of that was compliance.
Well, the question is it affordable for a majority of the people? And it's a cost of
Right, well, you're
having
looking at
utilities, but it's-
$500 a year for water bills in the next 3 years. It's basically what it is, $500 a year, just water.
If I could just add, there is a sheet in our operating budget book and in our citizens guide that compares our total utility bill. And on the stormwater side, we're quite a bit lower than a lot of cities, if not the lowest out of the top 10, or the 10 largest cities in Iowa. And then our salaries combined and look at the total utility bill on average, it's even lower than what this chart shows for water and sewer rates.
If we do not want to do the rate increases that we're projecting, we need then to go back through the capital items that we're looking at. We know the I-29 debt is a constant. We don't have any say in that. We will have to start going through and taking projects out.
And we've exhausted all avenues for the I-29 debt. There just isn't anything
No.
anywhere available.
No. So the federal government does earmarks again.
All the earmarks we've gotten, I have used on the street side and the storm sewer side in order to keep the borrowing there down so that we had the ability to issue debt for projects. So we have kept all of our earmarks. On last MPO, I believe they voted some more money towards our I-29 on the regular street side. So what we can manage with the I-29 project, we have tried very hard to manage. There's just, with the utility side, there's just nothing we can do. Our hands are tied on that.
So if this wouldn't pass this year, we'd be looking at,
Bigger increase
you'd be
next year.
proposing another, a larger increase next year for years to come.
Yes, and what you also have to keep in mind, the state of Iowa also changed the revolving loan fund requirements. We have to have a rate analysis done by a financial advisor showing that our rates in place are appropriate to cover our debt service. So we do walk a fine line if we aren't keeping enough fund balance in the fund that they would deny us a state revolving loan. This is the first year we've ever had to do that.
So some of those costs could be absorbed by Seaboard Triumph if they went to a second shift
Right.
and had a greater flow. So what would that do to our rates then?
It would, I always use the assumption, your expenditures are going to keep rising. You know, they're not going to stay, it will help us stay at a flat 3.5 across the board. Because if you look on the fund analysis that I included, you can see where if you go out into the 1920 year, I've bumped the revenues up anticipating the second shift. So I actually built into our structure those costs and those revenues going up.
Okay, but we haven't had, have we had increases every year since, because your write-up said we haven't had an increase since like 2009?
12.
It's
July
every
1st
year.
to 12 was our last
3 years,
increase.
every
in
3
For the
years.
water?
In sewer. Water,
Both?
we've had 7% increases every year for the last few years, except for July 1st of 15. We took a break this year, waiting to see what was going to happen with Seaboard Triumph. So neither water or sewer. nor
And how
sewer.
much is Seaboard Triumph going to do, I read it here, in water?
On water, first
1.2.
in 17-18, I'm projecting 1.2 million.
And you're projecting I wish I had it. But what is your, because your labor stays the same, chemicals is the only thing that changes and a little electricity.
Right. And I have that buried in a cell in here.
So I don't see how that can be when the revenue's just going up 7%. I don't see how you built anything in for that in the water.
I've got a separate line for Seaboard Triumph. It's the third line down.
I'm talking about your fund balance as of 6/30 should grow more than the 7%. You're gonna make money on $1 million.
Correct.
You're not gonna have $1 million worth of expenses.
Right. I put in the revenue and the expense in both.
You couldn't have, Donna, because you're only showing a 7% increase basically in your net fund balance growing. And you're telling me that on Seaboard Triumph, that on $1 million and with a rate increase, that your fund balance is not gonna grow more than 7%.
No, because of my debt service costs. If you go down and look at the debt service costs, they're growing by over $600,000 between 17. Because you can see it on just the net revenue and expenses where it is going up.
I understand that. And you can't see it in this chart either, by the way, but that's okay.
But if you,
I can see in 2019 that you have a lot of debt, but that doesn't necessarily translate to what you're saying here. Well, why didn't we have this, I guess? Why didn't we have this?
it was included with the RCA.
I'm gonna go back to that because, oh, that's fine. So basically, if I'm reading this right, utility charges, in 2017, it goes to $10,200 or $10,200,000, correct?
Correct.
And it stays flat from that point forward.
No, if you go down then about 5 lines, I kept the increases separate so that you could see each year what was being generated. So by a 7% increase, you're going to collect $1 million worth of revenue.
I don't get how you're telling me that. If you're having a 7% increase, where is, oh, you're showing your increase, okay. But you're saying a second shift of Seaboard only doesn't double the water, only takes 50% more.
That's what they're telling us.
Okay. And sewer's the same way, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Well, it'd have to be. And you're going out for bid on biogas right now, but you don't anticipate any revenue for 2 years, almost 3.
And that's just a shot.
All right,
It's
I'm
an
just
estimate on my
asking the
side.
question, that's all.
I would hope that it would come in sooner.
We wouldn't expect anything but to be conservative, that's fine. Sometimes a little too much for my blood, but what the heck. Is there a motion
Yes.
and a second?
Yes.
So with no rate increase, the water fund would be Yeah, $1.5 million short. FY '19 and FY '20 would be 5 million short. In 2021, almost 11 million. Is that right?
No.
Am I reading that right? Fund balance?
Water fund, it says 3.3 in 2019. If you're looking at water.
If you, Dan, if you look at the PowerPoint presentation,
That's what I have.
Here, Dan,
top part was,
there's water.
You got sewer there.
You got sewer probably, there's
No, I
water.
was looking at water here. No rate increase. Does water fund balance, no rate increase FY 2021?
right, you did
10 million?
12.9 negative,
Pardon?
12.9 negative.
I don't know where you're getting that one. Here's the one. I don't know where'd you get that?
It was laying up here.
Is it the yellow one? That was the one that we did back during budget.
Okay.
And since
So
then,
what is it in 2021 for the
Right
water?
here.
12.9.
12.9.
Get one of these. She just handed it out.
Oh,
It's the back.
sorry. On the bottom.
And at that point, I believe we would have some major problems with our bond council.
You're slowly starting to convince me with language like that.
Well, when you look at the,
Look at the
if you
sewer.
looked at the Moody's bond analysis, you know, they already said you got 40% of your annual operating is in debt payment and in pensions. So it's 40% of our operating every year already is in bond payment and pensions.
The
We
unfunded
don't have a
liability
lot
on
of
that
cash
is-
sitting around.
is something we need to address later.
What are we at, water's, storm and sanitary sewer bill? Excuse me, water runoff, whatever you want to call it.
Storm, I believe the storm is like $1.87 a month.
So on average for a family of four, all three combined, or what are we at?
I don't have that total. I can get it.
We get it for you for the
It's
next
right
meeting.
here.
Almost 7 million.
You just gotta add the $1.80, but it's based on lot size, but somewhere I just saw it on the family, the large.
Well, you had,
Well,
after 3 years, it was like 41 for water.
Here it is right here. There's your water for a large family, they call it. So it's 4768.
See, that's actually more gallons than what they're showing. They're actually, okay, I'm comparing to the top 40 cities.
Okay, you're talking typical resident, then not family.
Well,
And that could
they
be,
define it differently on
okay,
there.
3603. 3574. And what, I think it is
Is it
about
$1.80 on
81.
$1.81?
Approximately.
So we're at 72.58. The two lowest cities, major cities, Memphis is at 55.24, Salt Lake City at 59.16.
What do we care about any of those for?
But you compare
I
to
care
some of
about
the largest
Lemoyne, I care
cities,
about Waterloo, I care about,
compared to Atlanta, they're
well, who
$325
cares?
a
We're
month.
not Atlanta.
I did send you out though all of Iowa, anybody over 10,000 population. You did get the water and sewer as of July 1st of 15.
When we're right.
We
right
were in the middle of
them.
all those cities that you sent us.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably a better comparison because they have the same freeze thaw, you know.
Same regulatory costs really do make a difference.
Right, state and federal law.
To be perfectly clear, you're telling me that if I vote for no rate increase, that we would be in a position of making capital expenditure adjustments.
Depends how you vote no. If you voted no with no rate increase the first year, and then you said second and third year yes, we could maybe move some projects around. You vote no rate increases in sewer, we will have, knowing that we've got $32 million worth of debt we have to pay back, we will have to cut capital.
That's kind of what I wrote out of this whole discussion. If the rates need to be appropriate to cover the debt balances, or we need to go back and cut CIP. And then that puts us in a backward
Yeah.
motion instead of moving forward and making the improvements we need to do. And in part, when you said, or that are being recommended in part when you asked about the infrastructure, if we're not being aggressive enough, I think that's the reason I asked the question earlier about it'd be interesting to know all of the water breaks that we've had and how much money it's costing us. And is the infrastructure, do we need to be more aggressive with the infrastructure so we don't run into these kinds of issues down the road? And I don't know how you do that until
Well, then
there's
you
a
quit
break.
doing,
just-
you quit doing complete paved streets, quit doing the whole project, and you do water lines, which I'm not thinking is a bad idea.
Yep.
Although in some cases, when the water lines are under the street.
Well, it doesn't, here's the deal. You go do 4 or 5 blocks, Jackson Street, you do a complete rebuild. But all around it, the sewer lines, like on Douglas Street, that it broke 3 times and for the last 12 years has been doing, and I've never been a huge fan of that, sorry, just haven't been. As a result, we don't asphalt as many streets, we got potholes coming out everywhere.
Agree.
We used to have major asphalt overlay projects that we did. Now we don't do enough to make a dent. But that's been the direction of whoever, I don't know, but that's what we've done lately.
And, you know, if this is the way you want to go, we can definitely start writing our CIP instructions, have that be a focus.
Well, I don't want to do it because of me. I want to do it because this council sees. I mean, I think it's an honest discussion that needs to go on around here.
Which we will definitely have. I mean, unfortunately, we'll be starting CIP here in July.
I think I would agree. I think we need a complete analysis of the infrastructure to find out exactly what.
Well, you don't want a complete analysis because it's crumbling around you, as in every community in the Midwest. But.
Well, that's where a lot of the water pipes have been in the ground since Roosevelt was a president before World War II, so.
I wish they were that new.
Yeah, well.
You know, we have the problem with some of our newest infrastructure was our I-29 infrastructure.
Yes. Yeah. Then we had to relocate, and there came the expense. And
yeah.
Well, and Pete's comments made me think further. Maybe this is the trouble I'm having, Pete, is how do we fix the problem? I mean, how can we fix some of this?
Well, I think in part what the mayor just said is a good start. When you know there are stretches where we can fix. I mean, you can't just go break up the street, and I guess you can send cameras down, I don't know, and find out how the condition of the condition of the roads.
Sewer lines you can. Water, I guess you can shut them down too, but that's not necessarily going to tell you there's a break coming.
Right.
Unfortunately. Water is when the break occurs, unfortunately.
You know, I can remember, Dan, and this goes back, I don't know how long. If Rick Mock were here, he'd remember. But I was over for a council meeting once, and Rick, on behalf of the city, accepted an award from some national utilities association on behalf of the city of Sioux City for maintaining one of the oldest infrastructures or utility system in the United States. And I guess that's good, but at some point we need to be proactive. But I don't know how we do that. We certainly can't do that if we don't raise the rates, and we got to backtrack and find money to pay for what we're obligated. The city is obligated to pay back to IDOT, and then we start
Then we're in the worst mess in the world.
taking improvements away, because that's what the capital projects do, is make improvements, and it'll take us longer to catch up again, and then we drop farther, and I know this, I know it's a hardship. And Keith's right, we'll have $500 annual water bills, but what real choice is there? Except we need to invest in the community and hopefully strengthen our utilities and our whole systems.
I'm going to ask Mark to add something also. We had a IDNR inspection, excuse me, they came through a couple months ago, and we committed to in a letter which was shared with you based on the results of their inspections, some capital projects that need to be done. And Mark, do you want to address some of that? So it's not as easy as just going in and chopping out projects. We have to be very careful on what we take out.
Before I share that, just one statistic that might be useful to you here is the average replacement cycle for our water mains is 180 years. The nationwide average is 90. Now, we did just look at a water main, 30-inch water main that we're working on that is 80-some years old, and it actually looked in reasonably good condition. We were pretty surprised by that. So it doesn't mean that 90 is the target that we should shoot for. It's just that's the nationwide average. Referring to what the city manager mentioned, as you recall, we had an inspection by DNR in late September, I believe it was last year, and they required that we respond to them by March 1st to the scheduled improvements for our wastewater system. And we waited until after we got through the CIP process and the budgeting process, and then sent them a letter on February 29th that basically said, here is our schedule. We've not received a response from them, but I assume that they are on board with that schedule. They haven't balked at it. And I think they just want us to demonstrate to them that we do intend to move forward on.
That has no bearing on water, that has no bearing on storm sewer, that has no bearing on paving. That has a bearing on sanitary. You can go replace the sanitary by cutting 4 feet, 5 feet out of the middle of a street and replace that, or you can line. We've talked about that. Some streets or some sewers are candidates for lining, and you can still maintain that and keep them happy and maybe not do everything else we do. I mean, it's ideal to actually replace everything where you're going. I understand all that, but is it always financially prudent to do that?
I think if you look at our annual infrastructure project going forward, that is a discussion we have to talk about, because in the outer years, we're at $8 and $9 million worth of funding from various sources, and we have to decide if we want to set that kind of money aside or if we want to do spot targeting. I mean, we are reaching the critical point with what the cost of replacement is.
Well, I was told once that 50% of our infrastructure is over 60 years old.
There is a chart, if you've got your budget book sitting there in the transmittal letter on.
Personally, having a birthday tomorrow, I don't think 60 is all that old anymore. So not inclined to have that be the argument here today.
Well, most of us will second that, Mayor.
Roman numeral 10.
I remember one time we had a plumber come up here to talk about something, but one of his jobs that he found a pipe that was 1890 or something. Do you remember that, Bob? I mean, 1890. That's how old some of this infrastructure is. So that's.
It says there's only about 4 miles of water mains that are from 1885 to 1899, so that's pretty minimal now.
But I mean, just to have a
But still
plumber
4
find
miles.
that, I mean, that's still.
Yeah.
That's probably mostly downtown and over like,
Most of downtown's been replaced.
what's,
Clear
like West
Street and all
7th
that
Street.
was new the last time I was here. And it broke since then, by the way, so having it new or old doesn't necessarily
mean, it's
determine
not gonna
whether a
break.
break's going to occur. If you know the history, down by Wall Street in New York City, it's still wood water lines down there. So age has nothing to do with anything. Ground conditions and others have as much, if not more, but,
Well, that's where, ground like ours that goes through a freeze and thaw,
yeah.
and we have a sandy soil.
I guess, Mayor and Council, I mean, I would ask the question, and maybe if I'm repeating myself, I'll be quiet, but how do we know you've given me the numbers, but how do we know the 7% and the 3.5% increases are fair and reasonable? That's what we're asking for. I mean, why, and I don't want to, I'm not talking 0.5%, but I mean, why isn't it 2%? Or why could we make 5% work?
I think what makes it reasonable is you look at, we have a fund balance policy that requires in the third year out that we maintain a fund balance of 15%. And so finance then works and, does some modeling showing rate increases that are needed to hit that level.
I'm not gonna disagree, and it won't matter how you vote for a rate increase. Whether you do 15% one year and nothing the next, it doesn't make any difference, because people are gonna be upset about a rate increase. I don't care if it's 2% or 15. You could have done something differently, which I don't necessarily agree with. But the reality is, if you do 7 and 7 and 7, you're gonna have people irritated 3 times. I might be willing to bite the bullet and do 15 right now and be over with. Because that's the reality. No matter what we do here today, if we have any kind of rate increase, people are gonna be upset, which maybe they should be. But then they should maybe blame an interstate project that's costing us way more than what anybody could have foreseen. Way more. $5 million project that came in at $8 million, to name one. We had 2 of them that way. And to the cost, that's what it is. But
We could come back for second reading with some different rate models if you would like that. Because we do want to have 3 readings, and today would be the first. And then we could get more information if you so desire. We have, though, made commitment to our sister cities in the past that we would try to keep our rates flat. That's why we keep our proposal as it is with the 3 years at, similar percentages. That's the rationale behind why we.
well, what you charge, you could be flat with them. You could be 777, and you could be 15 with our citizens, because the compounding would be roughly the same.
Right, we can do whatever we want. It's however you would like to direct us.
The mayor, probably for many that are trying to work with a budget, that might be more difficult. Yeah.
No, I agree.
Might be a bigger.
But just realize that you just will pass a 3-year rate increase rather than come revisit this every year. Because no matter what you do, it's not going to be right today. So,
Luke, will you, just so I know my figures are right, on the average, water and sewer combined, on an annual basis, what are the increases for 16, 17, 18, or is it 17, 18, 19? So the first year, if we start July 1,
The combined increase, if you add the monthly increase, under 8 CCF, the typical resident, if you combine the monthly increase on the water and sewer slides, the total is $3.58. That's for FY 17.
That's the first year.
Yep. In FY 18, the total is $3.74.
yeah, I was looking for the total bill. Like, I know you recommended 238 in the water, so, my basic math skills, 12 times that was 28.56, and then $1.20 times 12 is 14.40. So the first year is going to cost the average home $42.96 a year. And then the second year I think I'm close, but I'm 42. It's going to be higher than that? Well, he had.
The typical resident.
Well, I'm talking just the increase part.
Oh, gotcha.
Just the increase part.
The new rate for combined sewer and water is $69.40, and the current is $65.99.
A month.
For a total year, for the first,
358, you said?
Yeah, $358 a month.
okay, times 12 is 42.96. There you go.
Well, I guess I was right. I did it a different way. But, so basically $43 the first year, and I think close to 45, and then 48 in the third year. So we're a little less than $4 a month all the way across for the next 3 years, but. And I don't,
Almost 45 for the second.
yes.
And the third is 30.
I'm somewhat bothered that you're gonna ask us talked to the, large industrial users, and you haven't talked to them yet, and you're gonna take this to the fiscal policy committee, and we haven't talked to them yet. I'm somewhat bothered that this is even here until that's happened.
We did talk to the MIUs and sister cities last Thursday, I believe it was.
Yeah, but you said you got another meeting because they didn't buy into your, or that's what Donna said, they didn't buy your deal. So I'm somewhat bothered that this is here until that, because we have promised, I've been there, that we would fully vet these things by them. Not that they're going to be the end of the day who makes the vote, but that we would try to do everything standing at a minimum of where we're at. And
We still have time to do that.
well, I understand that, but you take first reading, you're sending a message this is gonna pass.
No, not take first reading. I think we should do that first. And we still have, we're gonna do 3 readings. We still have plenty of Mondays. Has to be done by what's our deadline?
I would like the rates in effect for July 1st, but
So what,
is how much time?
10 days.
We publish the Saturday after the third reading. It would be effective the Saturday after the third reading, or it could be, that would be the earliest it could be, if we're getting right up to that deadline.
there's still time to get that input then, isn't there? I mean, tell me if you disagree, but it seems like there's still time.
16th, 23rd, we don't meet on the 30th.
No, and then you'd have the 6th, the 13th, the 20th of June.
And you'd still get it in. So that means you've got 5 weeks to do 3 weeks worth of work.
That makes,
And I was anticipating some deferrals along the way.
Okay?
thank you. So I move that we defer this.
Well, you had a motion on the floor, you can't. You've got to have them withdraw their motion.
I'll withdraw the motion.
And when do you meet with the?
This Wednesday.
This Wednesday? And you're meeting again, or no?
Put over the,
Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, this
make
week?
that over a motion on the floor.
Well, I was gonna say the other option is you could delete it and just have it resubmitted the next week. You could either defer or delete.
Well,
whichever
defer
you
is fine,
choose
it's
to
gonna have, something's got to be decided here, or we're gonna have to kick a lot of projects out real fast that we already awarded here now that we'll get sued for.
So defer it till
Until the.
Next week.
Next week.
May
16th.
16th. Did you withdraw your, you withdrew your
I'll
motion?
second it.
Okay, yeah, and I can withdraw the second.
Reddick,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Capron,
Aye.
Gretkin,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
32 is an ordinance amending chapter 13.0 of the municipal code entitled sanitary sewer rates to increase sewer rates effective July 1st, 2016. I'll move for deferral until May 16th.
Second.
Scott,
Aye.
Capron,
Aye.
Gretkin,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Reddick,
Aye.
33 are recommendations for planning and zoning and ordinance renaming a portion of Patton Street, Seaboard Triumph Parkway. P and Z recommends approval of this item.
This item, Jason Gary, Chair of Planning and Zoning, this item appeared on our agenda the last time we met and heard that the petitioner was there, spoke in favor. There was notification sent out to an adjacent property owner. They didn't have any objection, and this item passed on a 4-1-0 vote.
They'd like to make a donation to the water and sewer fund for about $2 million. I'll move that.
Second.
You come up with a
Never a
smaller
dull
name
moment.
there.
Never a dull moment when I come up. I tell you
Well,
what.
the money you're gonna
I'm
spend
your
on ink
comedy
on the
relief.
address labels now.
Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule? If not, I'll move it.
Second.
Capron,
Aye.
Gretkin,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Reddick,
Aye.
Oh, me?
Scott,
Aye. Move second and third.
Second.
Passes 5-0. You guys want to say anything, or? All right. Buck, thank you. 34 is a hearing and ordinance vacating a portion of the alley and South Pomegranate Street adjacent to 5015 Garrettson Avenue. P&Z recommends approval.
This item came before us. It was just during title review on a sale. This was found as a problem, and this is the city bringing forward that to correct that problem and get this taken care of.
I'll move it.
Second.
Do you have a heavy agenda tomorrow?
Passes 5-0.
What's that?
Do you have a heavy agenda tomorrow?
Yeah, we already have the agenda. Yeah, we get pre-agenda and then a regular agenda. Yeah, in front of you lovely folks in just 2 weeks. Just 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
No.
I'll move it.
Second.
Gretchen,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Redding,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Capron.
Aye.
I'll move second, third.
Second.
Passes 5-0. Citizen concerns. Any citizen would like to be heard again, please state your name and address and phone number so it can be used for follow-up.
Right here. Jennifer Frost, 803 32nd Street here in Sioux City. My issue is not about sewer, and it's not that big, but it is an issue nonetheless, and it's a personal issue for our family. We moved halfway across the country here to Sioux City in October of this past year, and it was great. We have 4 kids. My husband's the athletic trainer and equipment manager for the Sioux City Musketeers. We like this city, and we found a wonderful house up on the north side, and we're thankful to have a neighborhood where neighbors care about each other, and it's a good place. We're enjoying homeschooling our 4 kids here. Hopefully we'll get to stay here and raise our family. Sorry. So the reason that I'm here is to, we moved here with our family dog of 9 years. And he's a Staffordshire Bull Terrier, which is considered a pit bull. But what most people actually don't know about this breed is that the AKC standard for the male is 35 pounds. Our dog is a neutered male, and he weighs 35 pounds. He's a purebred. He's been raised with all of our children. He's stayed in multiple other families' homes and boarding centers, all without issue. Unfortunately, we know that our dog's not welcome in Sioux City, and you can imagine how this feels. It's one thing to lose a pet to natural causes and explain life and death to your kids, but totally different to try to explain the ordinance to them. I'm not here to ask you to remove the pit bull ban, because I understand why and when it was put into place. I understand that we want our community protected, and that also that the pit bull breeds are the most abused and neglected breed. What I'm here to ask you is to work with me, a law-abiding citizen, and as a mom. I want my community to be safe for my kids, my neighbors, and my fellow citizens. As my family and my kids play outside, we've watched numerous dogs that are clearly in the pit bull family walk by our home, all of which are much bigger than our dog. We have a new neighbor who has a Rottweiler, and just the name Rottweiler can invoke fear in people. Our 7-year-old son was jumped on and injured by our neighbor's Chow Husky mix. I mention all of this to say that we have a dog that's friendly, and again, I know that it's a personal issue, and dogs are their dogs. He's been friendly to everyone he meets. He's never been aggressive. He weighs all of 35 pounds. He's lower than my knee. And because of the breed ban and being law-abiding citizens, we have to rehome him in New York when we travel there at the end of this month. He's only allowed outside on the leash to go to the bathroom. He was picked up by animal control, and so we have signed paperwork that we're rehoming him. So we're thankful to have him until the end of the month. My proposal is that we make a modification to the municipal code. I would offer the following modification: that any person moving to Sioux City has 90 days to register their pet. If that pet happens to fall into the pit bull category that's aforementioned in the ordinance, that dog could be temperament tested, then that dog would be registered in at the time of the ordinance, and they would receive the same treatment as other dogs in the city. While I'm here, I might as well offer that pit bulls that are rescued and adopted could go through the same process, since I know that Noah's Hope has a really big problem trying to rehome those dogs. South Dakota seems to be helping them out on that. I also just want to suggest that we somehow make it easier and more appealing for people to register their pets. There's a lot of people walking around with unregistered dogs, and probably cats too. I know everybody's busy, and it's a big stretch for me to even come here tonight to get emotional and in front of city council. I don't want to fight. That's not my intention. Got a full plate homeschooling and caring for my family, but as our trip to New York approaches quickly, I'm finding it harder and harder to say, see you, buddy. You know, it's been a good 9 years. So if you just might reconsider making an amendment. I know that this law has been in effect for a long time and with good purpose, and I totally get that. So that's all I have to say.
I thank you for that, and I actually have a pit bull mix myself, but lucky I was here before that happened. I appreciate your idea, and I like that idea. I don't know how the other council guys feel about it, but I struggle with what you go through. You know, our pets are our family also, and 9 years, and with the kids, I can't imagine how hard that would be. I'm gonna ask Pete for his thoughts on it, because he has a lot to do with the doggy thing here.
Yeah, it's a tough decision. I was employed as a police officer for a long time before this came about, and one of my last duties was in animal control, and prior to getting in there, into that position, the council had already passed a resolution to ban pit bulls. Part of my responsibility was when bites occurred and animal control deemed an animal to be vicious, I would hold a hearing. The majority of dogs that were involved in bites, as I recall, were pit bulls, and that's what really concerned and frightened a lot of people in the community. And there really was a lot of emotional testimony at the hearings, a lot of hard decisions to make, and I think the consensus was at the time that it was the best decision was to ban pit bulls. I know we talked a lot at that time or along the way about temperament testing, but I don't know that anybody ever determined a good way to do that. Maybe you're familiar with, I don't think anybody knew who was certified to be able to say they could run them. Probably the people who work out at animal control know better than all.
Yeah, I mean,
Nobody wanted the liability, essentially.
Right.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, some of the things that we've had to do, if I may, we have the highest insurance policy we can have. We're renting our home, and there was only one company who would approve us for renter's insurance. So there are sometimes barriers to owning a dog that has a name, so to speak. And that's the liability that we take as that pet owner, but feeling like our hands are completely tied, that's a whole nother issue for us.
And I think Keith's right. I think the city's exposure to liability is one of the major concerns. If we allow a dog to stay and then something tragic were to happen, is the city liable in any way, shape, or form? I don't know. But I do know that when it came for me making a decision, if I was going to err on the side, one side or another, it would be on err towards the side of safety I've seen dogs turn on family members. I've seen dogs go after other animals, other people. So it was a tough go and years. And to be honest, I really don't know if we even have hearings anymore. And the city legal take those on now?
The process has changed, and it all is run through the magistrates and the district associate judges.
Oh.
Through the court system.
Wish they'd have done that for me.
Yes.
So I'm.
Yeah, Pete, I mean, I was with you in those hearings as
Sure.
well, and that was part of the reason that the ordinance was changed. Just a little bit of insight into the pit bull ordinance. We had a really difficult time when we drafted this ordinance. I think it might have been 2011, maybe 2012, was to identify what actually a pit bull was. A lot of research went into selecting the breeds that looked like pit bulls, and what was selected, I believe, was a good compromise. And unfortunately, the dog that you have was included in the definition because for all general purposes, and I imagine you would admit, they look like pit bulls. So it'd be really difficult to start to extract some of those characteristics or some of those breeds from the wider pit bull definition would get real dangerous because I think you would start to see, oh, my dog is an American Staffordshire Terrier or one that would be excluded. So,
Well, and we're even seeing other dogs with other names. Colorado Bulldog looks identical to my dog. It's not included in the ordinance. Cane Corsos stand this tall, not in the ordinance.
and in addition to identifying those breeds, we also say if it has the general characteristics of a pit bull, then it is banned as well. So we've captured the ones that we know about, and we also captured the ones that look like pit bulls. And
I'm not asking, again, I'll just restate it. I'm not asking for the ordinance to be lifted by any means, but for, the grandfathering in, I think that helped a lot of people with pets and law-abiding citizens. And as someone who moves here, maybe that wasn't factored in before, because it seems like a whole lot of people are born and raised in Sioux City, and that's awesome, but there seems to be a lot more people coming in from the outside now, and for what it's worth.
I thought you made an excellent presentation. It took a lot of courage. What struck me, because I don't know where I'm with this issue, but what struck me, and I don't know if this makes any sense, but what jumped out at me was that you have had this pet for the 9 years.
9 years.
And you can prove ownership, and you can prove date of ownership, and so, that's what jumped out is what's the differing factor? Because the other thing, and as Pete alluded to, you want to have objective standards of, who's in, who's out. You can't be subjective, or we're just going to have a real problem on our hands. And you want that bright line standard. But I don't know if there's anything that could be done as far as, because you've had that pet for as long as you have, the fact that you move into Sioux City, if you had a certain date, that would prevent people from moving in and somehow wanting to bring in that breed of dog or whatever problems could arise. But I thought you made a good case for what you have. I just don't know what to do with it at this point and how to approach it, or what kind of review we would take. That's why I was going like this with you, is like, do you have any ideas as far as what kind of review? Or, I don't think I want to mess with the ordinance, because I remember what the council and the mayor went through when they went through that process, and that was a,
Councilmember Moore, I think
was a
the
very-
ordinance as written is very stringent. It doesn't allow for exceptions. Basically, if you did not have a registered pit bull before 2009, they are not allowed in the city. Whether, regardless of age, ownership, you move into the city, you're not allowed to have a pit bull at this point.
but was that taken into account?
I believe it was.
And thanks, City Manager, for pointing that out, 2009. The thoughts on that was right away in 2009, there was no immediate reduction in pit bulls in town. And so as we're nearing closer to the average lifespan of a dog, at some point, maybe 10, 12 years, any pit bull, maybe it's 15 years, any pit bull found in the city would not be allowed. And so we're getting closer to those dates. So I mean, we could look at maybe some exceptions, but once we open that door, it's going to get tough to get to that point where we want it to be.
Looking at the research for dog bites in Sioux City since the ordinance has been passed. And the amount of dog bites in Sioux City has actually increased since the ordinance was passed. Maybe that's because there's more dogs in Sioux City. Certainly the number of pit bull bites has decreased, which is huge because, you know, a pit bull bite can potentially be a worse bite than from a Chihuahua. But the number of dog bites since the 2008 passing of the ordinance has increased.
But I wonder,
And part of that's expected though, too, of the awareness of what you're supposed to do when a dog bite happens, so.
Well, but isn't that also when it changed, though, that those have to be reported? I mean,
I believe so. I mean, it
Isn't that
essentially,
about the time it changed? Because I mean, as a kid, I got bit by dogs, but you never had to report it to the.
Well, as far
The
as
city
I can remember,
authorities.
it's been a long time that you've had to report it. Did you get those figures from Siouxland District Health or
I
the
don't
police
think people
department?
really
or-
knew about
On
reporting
the-
until after
just
Aaron
online.
Rochester's dog did it.
Oh, just online?
I would have to come back and.
Because I do think they have,
I don't know.
if they do go to the hospital for treatment, I think they report it to District Health, and if the police department takes report, I think that also goes to District Health, and I was curious, I would be curious how many bites by breed, but I don't know.
Well, there's still national numbers kept, and it's predominantly, even though they're not the number one owned dog, it's for vicious bites, it's predominantly pit bull.
You know, it's
Especially
really,
for lethality.
it's really said that one dog has to be eliminated from the bunch because a lot of dogs bite. Now, if we banned every dog that bit, there wouldn't be a dog in town.
Yeah, is there a vicious dog ordinance here, or is it just the pit bull ban? Because South Sioux City has the vicious dog ordinance, which
We have a vicious dog
I
ordinance.
completely.
We
Oh,
do.
do
We have
We
a
have a
vicious
vicious-
dog and a high-risk animal ordinance.
So what,
That's what I'm
so
thinking.
what's considered,
An
What's
unprovoked,
vicious?
an unprovoked attack would be a vicious animal. Could be declared.
Causing injury to a
well, why don't
person
they
or
just,
another animal.
instead of having the pit bull ban, why can't that be another vicious dog? Doesn't make sense to me.
So that's South Sioux Cities is the vicious dog ban, and then South Dakota actually statewide, which I know is a big issue, statewide passed that no municipality can pass a breed-specific ban. I actually did create a change.org petition online to go to Iowa as the state level, and just within about 3 days, only from sharing with my Facebook friends, I'm not a celebrity, but I had 587 supporters on that for the state to be able to push through that municipalities can't. Now, is that that's not what my goal is. Personally, yes, I want it changed for me, but at the same time, I want the city to be safe. I have 4 kids and we're home all the time and we're surrounded by dogs. I don't want the city to not be a safe place, and I don't want to open up a can of worms for you. You got bigger fish to fry than just dogs, and I realize that, and so I want to be respectful of your time and of all the issues here, and so I'm happy to work with you, and I'm happy to work with the rescue centers, with animal control, and I know that people have done lots of research in years past, and it's we don't want history to repeat itself, so. but my dog has to leave the city. And I'm thankful, again, I'm thankful that there was an exception made, whether the person who made it was allowed to or not, that we have our dog until we can bring him elsewhere.
Is your dog home now?
Mm-hmm.
I got, in the past, we haven't had even an exception for people that missed the registration deadline. So I can think of at least one or two cases that I think it was the second year where they had just missed the registration deadline, and there was no late fee, there's nothing, it's just you didn't do it. So there was no exception granted in those cases, and I just, I hate to tell you, straight to your face that it's, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to happen, but I just don't think it is. And I'm not trying to be rude or impolite, and I totally understand what it's like to homeschool and have 4 kids because, we're in the same boat in our house. So, but don't see an exception for any pit bull now or starting myself, so.
You may want to talk to, have you spoken to Cindy Rarrett out at Animal Control?
I'm sorry, who?
Cindy Rarrett, she's a contractor for animal control services for the city of Sioux City.
No.
You may want to talk to her and just share your concerns. But again, I think I would agree with Keith, it's probably an uphill battle, but I don't know what's out there. I don't know.
So in terms of city council making a change or, he's 9, so he's going to be.
They only live 8 to 15 years typically.
Right. And so.
Well, the kinds of things that I'd be interested in is the number of bites that have occurred in the city over the last 5 or 6 years, the breeds that are involved, what others. I know we're not the only community that's banned pit bulls.
90, I just counted.
90 of them?
90 in Iowa.
In Iowa.
90 in Iowa. And whether or not they have any exceptions. And it might include the requirement, I don't know, to the dog, and maybe it is now, they have to be kenneled or in a contained, and they may have to, if they're out walking, do they have to be muzzled? No, I'm not sure.
Do you have to be at a 6-foot leash or less?
6-foot leash or less. So
I guess I'm just wondering too, how to help. Obviously people are going to get caught, it's like running red lights. You're going to eventually get caught if you have one. How can we help people who live here and have them? Because just in my neighborhood, there's at least 4, and they're not old.
Yeah.
And so it's, yes, that's maybe not my issue, but at the same time, I'm just wondering, how do we work together to help people do the right thing? And if it's not coming to city council to get those things changed, I'm happy to come with more numbers. And the facts, other people here know the facts, and I can certainly do that again, or I can just continue at a different level like South Dakota did.
That's a great question. How do we get people to do the right thing sometimes? And it's one that you ask yourself a lot. And I know the city's always been very active in annually for sure. And animal control does a lot of, I think there's a requirement to do a half a dozen public service announcements or media events per month. At least there used to be. I've been away from it a long time. But and the city would try to get, especially out of the clerk's office, try to get people to be responsible and to register their pets. But it's always I think a challenge. There was a recommendation at one time from a former city manager. Every time the police went into a residence that had an animal, when we were done, for whatever reason we were called there for, we should ask for their animal license, and that may be the only way that it ever gets resolved. And I'd hate to guess how many. I don't know how many licenses there are in the city now, but I'll bet there's 10 times as many animals, if not more. And it really is a
I
challenge.
do, actually, I can find them.
You know, I just looked up 2016 dog bite deaths. All 9 of them were from pit bulls this year.
How many?
9 this
9?
year, and they're all pit bulls.
All pit
Where are
bulls.
they from?
San Diego, California, 3-day-old, 66-year-old in Leesburg, Florida,
I just want to know about
86-year-old
Iowa.
North
I
Carolina.
want to know about Sioux City. That's what I want to know.
We
This
haven't
is
had
just,
anybody die from a dog bite wound.
most of the cities in Iowa have already banned pit bulls.
And that, again, I would say, I would offer is because they're the most abused and neglected breed. And
I have to
so-
agree. You
and
know,
I
the thing
understand.
is that a mean person makes a mean dog. That's how I look at it, because I tell you what, if you have love out there and you take care of your dogs the way you should, most of the time they're gonna be fine, unless they were, you know, raised around violence. I have 2 dogs. I have a pit bull, a mixed pit, and I have a little Shih Tzu. And I'm telling you what, the little one goes after the big one, and the big one just plays with her. I mean, yeah, and all he wants to do is play ball. If you came to the door, he'd bark at you because he wants to play, you know? And you look at him, you touch him, and he runs. I think it's just the way they're brought up. And I think they get a bad reputation. So, and I know plenty of dogs that are mean dogs, and they're not pit bulls, so, and they don't have to be a big dog, they could be little dogs. So, you know, if we looked up all different kinds of dogs, we could come up with all different kinds of statistics. So,
3-1.
it happens to be the pit bull that we ban.
And I guess I would wonder too, I mean, you mentioned the liability for the city, and, you know, I know that that's probably an easy thing to throw out, but isn't homeowners insurance and renters insurance, that's kind of the first line? That's why we have to have it, right? I guess you don't have
People
to
should
have
be
it.
responsible for themselves and for their animals and their kids, you know, come on. You know, we can't be liable for everybody and everything, you know?
Well, but here, 6 years after Sioux City's crackdown on pit bulls and vicious dogs, fewer people are reporting cases of dog bites. So it's not, I don't where you're not saying your dad is wrong, but in 2013, there were 37% fewer dog bites than in 2007. This is from the paper that everyone reads. It goes on to quote Councilman Pete Gretkin, say the declining numbers are showing something positive is happening. So at least in
And when did I say that? In 2007?
2013, they were down. That's all.
Is that just for the pit bulls?
What's that?
That's just for the pit bulls, though, right?
No, I said, there's no data saying what, it's just saying that dog bites are actually down 37%.
I just read every single one of the 9. 4 of the 9 where they were killed, it was the family dog. 2 of them, it was the next door neighbor's dog. 2 of them, it was their family members, so like mother killed by her daughter's dog. And 1 of them was at a daycare center. So they were all dogs pretty much used to being around families and children too. I'm not necessarily saying they weren't neglected, but I just remember we revisited it back in, I think, 2010. You were, I think, still in the police department. I was first on council back then, and you know, I had to read through report after report of, you know, dog bite statistics, and I got to tell you, after reading it, I'd never owned one, and I own a dog, but I just got it, and I have to register it within 6 months. But
The man at Animal Control who let us see our dog when he got picked up, he said when the ordinance was passed, there were 15 vicious dogs in here, and not one of them was a pit bull. That was his statement to our family.
we've had some pretty vicious attacks. I remember a husky one that tore apart the insides of a young boy, and you know, that boy's going to grow up without body parts that, you know, it's going to forever affect his life. And it was just a mean dog left off the leash. So.
Well,
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name's Aaron Shern. I'm a landlord, and I'm here about some issues with water on West Willis Street.
Can we get your address, please?
My address is 2824 Chambers, Sioux City, Iowa.
Go ahead.
Krista Hardy from the city come out, and we had some water in the basement. We called the city because several houses had water in them. He called Jay's Restoration and said, hey, stop pumping, let's the professionals handle it, and they'll take care of it, and don't worry about it. Well, I had already had one pump going in one of the rental houses, which was 1512. Second house was 1510. I was gonna go buy another pump from Baumgart's, but they're expensive. And he said, don't worry about it. He'd have Jay's Restoration take care of it. So I started at 10:30 in the morning, and I left about 6:45 at night. Jay's had showed up, and they were going house to house. So thinking everything's gonna be handled, he said, we'll take care of it. So I get a call from the tenant at 1510, says, hey, Aaron, we don't have no water, hot water in our house. What's going on? So I call the emergency number from the city. Don something calls me back, and I'm bad with names, and said that basically I'm on my own. So I went over to the house later that night to find that Jay's Restoration, they went through the house and said that the furnaces were contaminated, the hot water heaters were contaminated, and they all had to be replaced. So now I have to call people in to say that, that's not the case, water heater. And had Christy Hardy not said, hey, let it go, we'll take care of it, I never would have had the problem with the hot water heater. And I don't feel that I should have had to call the city back if the city told me they were gonna handle it. So I just wondering, is there something we can do with what's going on?
I'll answer that. I'll be the bad guy. The answer is that you need to work, I should have a lawyer answer this to be correct, but you need to work with, obviously, Mr. Trodermeter and the legal department, because the council, stop me when I'm wrong here, is not in a position to settle claims, and I'm not trying to minimize your loss or anything like that, but the reality is that we have a process that we have to go through, and so you're going to need to work with them, and if the resolution doesn't come forthcoming, then
I got a letter from Nicole saying that it was groundwater and there's nothing that we're gonna do, so I'm asking for $422. It's not much. It's one hot water heater. I cleaned it up myself. I took care of everything myself. I just don't feel it was right for Krista Hardy from the city to say that they'd handle it and not do nothing with it, not get back with me on it. And there's gotta be some kind of policy where if something like this happens, this isn't the first time this happened. You know, there should have been something that said, hey, you know, or they had all our numbers and everything. They should have been able to get a hold of us to take care of this matter. I shouldn't have had to call twice.
let us, we got some facts on this, but we're not by any stretch of anybody's imagination do we know the answer. Let us work with our legal staff and try to get you an answer one way or another for sure, but give us a chance to visit with the legal department again.
Okay.
And if you have a claim that you would like to submit, I'll talk with you after the meeting. I hadn't heard the $422.
It's one hot water heater.
Okay, and I'll be happy to visit with you
Okay.
if you want to stick around.
Yeah, just wait, Nicole can get with you, or Justin can.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Gretkin?
I was, a couple of things real quick. I know the rest of the council received this email too, but there was a letter on May 4th to council regarding Awesome Biker Nights events, the event June 16, 17, 18, that requested supplemental insurance coverage, additionally insured in the same manner as, and I guess there's, and I don't know how that event package works, but apparently it sounds to me as though when Awesome Biker Nights, the group does the event package, they must have to provide some kind of insurance coverage for businesses in the immediate area.
Cole could probably answer it. I'd received a similar email and I asked Angel Wallace in our Parks Department, and I was told they are not required to provide insurance for the other businesses in the area as an additional insurance.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess my question was going to be, if they are providing for others, why did they leave some out, but we don't provide?
They
Or-
name, they have to name us as an insured for the
Correct.
right-of-way areas, but other than that, just themselves.
We have to, the city has to be listed as a certificate holder and an additional insured.
They have to have.
City requires that no
additional
matter
insurance
what.
outside.
Yes. Well, he was talking, well, the email said that they included the
saw it
city,
too.
but they said they were providing additional insurance for Siouxland Mental Health Services, Mid-American Energy, and Great Southern Bank, but that's not the case?
I'm not aware
Okay.
of those.
Okay.
No. The only additional insurance they have to do is for the ground that they're gonna have their events outside too, and it's
Yes.
probably already covered because they already have events outside. But you have to.
Well, I think all of these properties are adjacent
Unless they would
to,
have worked out some arrangement, but I'm not aware of them
Okay.
providing that insurance
Okay.
anywhere else.
so then it's an issue. The second thing was about the city, the need for the city to spray weeds, and that there are a lot of people that need weeds sprayed, unfortunately, but specifically, they mentioned the long weeds at the fire station on downtown, so I'm assuming they're talking about 9th and Douglas, and the Art Center. And he said if the city's contracting, they're probably not. I mentioned to the gentleman that the last I knew, the fire department usually takes care of their own. And the Art Center, I wasn't sure about, but he thought that, I think he was maybe a vendor at one time, and he said there used to be, when the city gave the vendors an opportunity to bid, they were calling for 4 treatments. He says you can get it done for 2, and it should be less, but you're not getting your money's worth. So
I will get it addressed tomorrow.
yeah, I promised I'd bring it up for him. And then finally, I just wanted to mention my appreciation and thanks to MERD for their contribution to the city trail system. It's a significant and generous contribution, and it'll go a long ways to providing a really nice amenity for people in the community to walk and ride bikes. And so if anybody from MERD's listening, thank you. And if not, we still appreciate it.
You bet.
I'm done.
Thanks, Pete. Well, the only thing that I have, I guess, is as I'm going over my agenda again this morning, I'm watching out on 34th Street where I live, and here goes, there's cars and trucks, and then I seen a county car. They were going crazy fast down 34th. They were chasing somebody. And I'm telling you, if 34th and Cheyenne is a residential area, and I think that they probably should think twice before they're driving 80, 90 miles an hour. I mean,
Lights and sirens? You mean, or
there's lights on.
marked cars? Squad cars?
They were 2 unmarked cars, and then there
No
was,
sirens.
one was a truck and one was a car, and then I
No
seen
sirens.
the county car.
Well, they're
What?
not supposed to be chasing an unmarked sirens, so I don't know.
Well, they were chasing a car. Well, then I did a little investigation myself.
Oh.
And I found out that the person that they were chasing had ran a stoplight out in the county, and they were chasing him all the way down, and they got him pulled over on 11th and Floyd. So I'm not for sure what went from there, so.
Oh, it started in the county.
It was county,
Did they
yeah.
have sirens on?
They had lights on, no sirens.
County though, not city, county.
Yeah, county.
Well, I'm just saying,
You sure there wasn't any police officers involved?
No, talk to your friend.
Okay, yeah, pass it on to Dave, will you? But there was a police car at the very end, just probably figuring out, getting to what was going on. But he was not driving that fast.
Oh, wow.
Not like 80 miles an hour. I just, I tell you, he had been going slow because I seen him going by. The other ones I seen flashes, and if I hadn't been sitting there at my table, I wouldn't have never seen any of them. So that's how fast they were going.
They'll tell you had your window shut and you just didn't hear the sirens too. That's one.
Well, let me tell you something, my dog would have heard it. Yeah, and happy birthday, thanks, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
Have a good day tomorrow.
Have a good day. I'm
Well, I
not
hope,
gonna be around.
and happy birthday to Dan for yesterday. Dan Moore had a birthday yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Dan. Happy
Cole had a
birthday.
birthday. Are you all Tauruses?
Huh?
Nicole.
Nicole had a birthday too, that's right.
Last
So
Wednesday.
think of all the combined years of
Some
legal
happy birthday
experience
to
for
you
you
one
three.
year.
Yeah.
And last year to me.
Must have
Because
been
my birthday
special.
was on a Monday.
Oh, it was last Monday?
Mine was last Wednesday, but a year ago it was on a
Oh.
Monday, and you said.
Keith, there must be 150 years of legal experience.
Combined,
60 and 60 and 30.
There you go.
Experience.
Thanks for the 30, Pete. I appreciate that.
If
That's
you-
all I got.
If you have not had an opportunity to see the 9/11 Never
did.
Forget mobile exhibit,
I'm going there on my birthday.
it's powerful, it's emotional, it's sponsored by Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, Sioux City, and you
Is it
guys
in their
just can't
parking lot?
believe, you just can't believe it. You just can't believe how good it is. I mean, it's.
Where's it at? In
and a
the parking
reminder,
lot?
At the Battery Park.
Battery Park.
In the parking lot.
I
And,
think it's
they
just
have-
through Wednesday, Dan, is it?
Yes, till 9 o'clock in the evening. And they've had lots of students come through that were probably not here in 2001.
That's really
It's
a
great
huge part
history.
of it, yeah.
It is, a great history lesson. So I just wanted to remind all of you to try to get in and see it. I had a friend go see it last night with her 2 children, and she said there was like a 30.
Donate today for the over the edge rappelling down the hotel.
I'm going to.
All right.
Who?
So we could,
What do you-
all you have to do is click give now. We
look
can
at me
take
like
care
I'm
of it.
just wondering what you're giving, so how high the bar is.
You
That's
see
it.
the
Bob's gonna
candy
give,
basket over there?
give $1 more than you just to be the higher.
I'm gonna put the candy basket
Yeah,
at the
crap.
bottom
Give me a
of
crap.
the.
If I fall, I
I
gotta
want to
stop
know
maybe.
how, I know the bar's pretty low, I just want to know how low you're setting it for this.
Who would be foolish enough to go over the edge?
I bungee jump. That ought to tell you something. I
Oh,
was
wow.
Yeah.
Tell me what the bar is, so I know what to write, who do I write the check out
You
to?
just, you go right there.
I don't want to go there, I want to write a
We don't
check.
want, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna
We're
write
in
a
our
check.
60s. We want to write a check.
Well, I must have made my mom mad because she put $100 on there, so.
I'm gonna write it
Might
down
be
for
something that would give
Keith's
more than
helmet
that if
fund.
you-
Do we? I'm surprised she
Yeah,
wouldn't say.
my mom put the $100 towards there, so she wants to throw me off.
She wants to throw you off?
Her name's Donna. It's a good name, right?
You've only raised $260, this is embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
And Mom gave 100 of it.
You see, the biggest donation from City Hall is from downstairs, first floor.
I'm,
Are we gonna put some pressure on here?
Big brothers,
we gotta
big
get
sisters.
we gotta get some council direction to force all legal team.
I'm writing you a check out right
City
now for
manager's office.
$50. How's that
All
sound?
right.
Big brothers,
Oh,
big
finance
sisters.
department, they
what
should all
day-
have money.
What
so-
day is that you're actually going?
It's still 37 days away.
What, you have to put that in the
June
budget?
what? June,
Yeah. You have to put that $20 in your
He's
budget
gotta
or
plan
what?
ahead.
20? You think I'm gonna give that much?
Keith, if you promised to
What?
not come out of that deal, I'm sure they'd dig up a big collection around here in the city. You get way over that 1,000.
that's not true, Keith.
Hey, why are you laughing so much
I didn't
back
say
there?
us, I said us.
$1,000 check.
Oh, man.
Is that it?
I guess
We're
it is
your
now.
friends. We are your friends. You know
Could
that?
we get our friends at Mid-America Energy to mow their weed patch on Outer Belt? It's about 18 inches high and full of weeds. They're the only place from Floyd Boulevard to Outer Belt that never gets mowed. Why would they not have a contractor to do that on that substation? Every year, it's the same thing.
Pass that down to him.
You got it.
All right, thank
I don't understand that. We would not let any other corporate citizen get away with that. So you're on it?
It's up the railroad.
Well, we can't do anything about the railroad.
We don't,
All
can't
right.
either about Mid-America.
Anything else?
Jesus. No.
You got laryngitis, so even if you did, we couldn't hear you.
Steph is going, no, I'll tell you later.
I move we adjourn.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Look, Dave's coming up to donate.
No, Dave and I are gonna go have a meeting.
And this